And we are live. Let me get some of my stuff together here. I'll probably wait a few minutes before I begin the installation. Tonight I'm going to be installing Arch Linux in Virtualbox. I've done at least one mainline Arch install on the channel before, maybe two, I can't remember. But I have to go through an Arch installation because I like keeping a VM of Arch Linux, usually multiple VMs of Arch Linux, just because I like playing around with Arch a lot. And it's good to do this kind of stuff in virtual machines, you know, like testing stuff. And recently I've been hopping a lot, been doing a lot of distro hopping. I've lost a lot of the virtual machines that I'd had. Some of them I'd had running for 6-7 months, and some of them just got lost along the way. Some of them didn't make the hops. So, and some of the ones that didn't make the distro hopping was I lost my VMs. I had a couple of VMs of mainline Arch. So I really wanted to reinstall Arch in a VM. And I figured, you know, if I was going to go through that tonight, why not just do it live? Why not stream? So, what could go wrong? Nothing. Nothing ever goes wrong with an Arch install. So, anyway, I was actually trying to download the ISO here. See who's in the chat already. Brino Silveira. Greetings. Looks like he's from Brazil. Awesome. Toss is in the chat. He feels some unstableness in the force. There will be nothing unstable tonight. Arch is actually a pretty stable distro. Sometimes. JP says hello. How you doing, JP? Alright. Alan Rocco is in the chat. Alright. Is the stream looking good? Is the audio good? I can kind of tell the stream, the video is good because I'm watching the live preview, but I'm not connected to the desktop audio here, so I'm not sure how the sound is. If I need to adjust the sound, let me know. Okay. So I've got the Arch Linux website here. I recently, just in the last few minutes, downloaded the torrent. I hope I've got the ISO downloaded. I'm pretty sure it completed. For one thing, we need to go to the Arch wiki before we get started. We need to go ahead and go to the Arch installation guide. The video is a bit grainy. Abid is in the chat. Matt Miller is in the chat. Mark Yates is in the chat. Hi to all you guys. Alright, the Arch Wiki, their installation guide. Now, this is the official way to install Arch. If you go to the Arch Linux forums and say you've installed Arch, they expect you to have actually pulled up this installation guide on their wiki and go through it. It's not a very long page either. I mean, the Arch install is not as hard as some people make it out to be. Try wiping the camera lens with an alcohol-free cloth with a little alcohol on it. Is the camera lens a problem? Let me see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of lighting in this room. It's 10 o'clock at night here, and I don't have a lot of light on as far as the webcam. Interceptor says, I don't know what you're talking about, Toss. I smell nothing but stable in the air. Yeah, we're not going to do anything crazy tonight. And really, I'm just going to do like a base Arch installation. I'm just going to go through, you know, the installation guide. When we're done, all we're going to have is a command prompt. I may go ahead and install LightDM, go ahead and get a login manager installed. I'm not sure if I'll install a window manager or anything. If I do, I'm definitely not going to bother configuring anything. Mark Yates Mark Yates mentions, yeah, the graininess was the fact that he was watching it in 480p. Yeah, that's a problem. Daniel's in the chat. Looks fine to him. Awesome. Yeah, on the live stream, it auto-adjusts your resolution sometimes on the streaming, or, you know, mine. So once it's recorded, you guys, if you go back and watch it later, you know, I'm sure it's going to look fine. It's going to be in 1080. So Brennan mentions he just did an Arch install in VMware today. Yeah. So Arch installs are actually pretty straightforward. The more you do them, too, you kind of get the hang of them. I haven't done a ton of Arch installs, but you know, I probably installed it, I don't know, a handful of times on physical hardware. I've run through it in VMs, I don't know, maybe a dozen times. Of course, this is over the course of, you know, my 10 years or so running Linux. So it's not like I do them like all the time. I mean, I can go a couple of years in between Arch installs, but I've done a few of them. The last time I did an Arch install was actually about a month ago. I was running mainline Arch on this production machine of mine. I did an Arch install on that, and then I did a VM install. I even put some of that on the channel. I lost that VM though, and I want it back, so I'm going to go through it again. Figured I'd do it live stream. So anyway, I've got the installation guide up. So got that up. I'm actually going to move this to a different monitor for me. I just moved it out of the way, you guys. You're not going to notice any of that. Then I'm going to show you my second monitor here. I've got 3 monitors. This is actually where I'm going to do the VM install. So let me open up Virtualbox. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new virtual machine. I'm going to name it Arch Linux. Why not? And Virtualbox is smart enough to actually know type is Linux, version is Arch Linux, 64-bit. That's all good. RAM size, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 gigs. Right, I'm going to go ahead and create a virtual hard disk now. I'm going to use VDI, which is the Virtualbox disk image. This is basically its hard drive, its virtual hard drive. I'm going to choose dynamically allocated. It's the default. And then for the size of this VM, 15 gigs. I like doing 15 gigs for most Linux distros. 15 gigs is more than enough space for like 95% of the Linux distros out there. Occasionally you'll get some really, really bloated, heavy distros that 15 gigs just isn't enough. I've encountered, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 distros that I've reviewed on the channel that 15 gigs just wasn't enough, and then I had to go back and, you know, create a new virtual hard drive, you know, bump it up to 20 or 25 gigs. Anyway, I'm going to right click on this new VM that I've created. I'm going to click on Settings. And I'm going to go to System. I'm going to go to Processor. I have 6 cores on my CPU, so I'm going to give the VM 2 cores. That'll speed up things a little bit, giving the VM 2 cores. It'll make the installation a little quicker, especially if I start installing things from the AUR, which actually compiles software. The more CPUs you give it, the better. Alright, under display, I give it, I don't know, 64 megs of video memory. I'm not going to adjust the monitor count. Again, I have a 3 monitor setup, so I could bump this up to 3 monitors, but you guys are only going to see 1 monitor anyways. I'm only going to set this to 1 monitor. Acceleration. You always need to tick on Enable 3D Acceleration when you're installing these Linux distros in a VM, in a Virtualbox. That, oh, I wasn't quite done. I also need to go to Storage. Controller IDE, I'm going to choose an existing, actually I'm not going to choose an existing disk, I'm going to choose disk here, and in my downloads I hope there is an Arch Linux ISO. Hopefully I downloaded that. I was downloading it right when I started the stream, so I hope the download went well. I'm going to go to user interface here. This isn't critical, but I'm going to disable the status bars and the menus inside Virtualbox. You guys don't need to see that. It's just extra clutter on the screen. And that is it. I'm ready to launch the VM and begin the installation. Let me go back to the chat for just a second. Got a lot of folks in the chat already. Tux is here. At least it's not yellow. Abid, never installed Arch. It might be helpful. Thanks. Yeah, that's not too bad, the Arch install. If you've been around Linux for a little while, then you can read a wiki and, you know, type some stuff in the terminal. It's not bad. Alan Rocco says, hey. Alvaro Felipe, are you reading the comments? Yeah, I'm going to try to keep up with the comments as much as I can. Obviously, the comments, there's a lot going on, especially once I get into the install. But, you know, I'm going to pause, basically. When I type something in the terminal and it begins to do whatever it's doing, I'm going to try to come back to the chat. So if you guys have any questions on what I just did, ask. If I missed something and it's really important to you, just ask it a second time if I miss it the first time. All right. So, see, somebody has some power state issues on a laptop. And it's like we've already got some support questions going on. Not Arch Linux related here, though. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys continue the chat. I am going to go ahead and launch this VM and try to begin the installation. So let me switch back over here. I'm going to go ahead and launch the VM. Alright, we're going to go ahead and boot Arch Linux. And this may take a second to boot up. Let's see if I can resize this, make it a little bigger. Okay. And the McBird is in the chat, just checking in to say thank you for all your Linux enthusiasm and fun to watch, easy to follow videos. Thank you, McBird. Yeah. Alright, so here we are. And we need to log in, of course. We're at a command prompt. We need to log in as root. That's what the pound symbol means. To log in as root, you need to log in as root. Actually, we're automatically logged in as root. I don't need to do anything. So it actually told us root automatic login. So I didn't even need to try to log in here. So my bad. Mistake number one. Alright, so I'm going to go through the installation guide here. So download and boot the installation medium as explained. We've already done that. No need to do that. The default console key map is US. That's what I need. I don't need to fool with that. So already we can skip quite a bit of this. Verify the boot mode if UEFI is enabled. I'm not going to do UEFI here in this VM. So I don't need to worry about that. We need to connect to the internet. The installation enables DHCP CD daemon on boot, so we should have internet. But to verify, it tells us we should ping archlinux.org. So type ping space archlinux.org, and it pings archlinux.org over and over again. So we have network. Control-C will stop the ping, by the way. They actually don't tell you that in the installation guide. They should. Otherwise, you'll be sitting there and wondering how in the heck are you going to stop this pinging. Control-C. Pro tip. All right. So already we're pretty good ways through the installation guide because we could skip a few steps here. All right. Let's see. We've got Sven in the chat. I think I've already seen you earlier, Sven. How's it going? And Mark Yates is still trying to help some folks out with some problems. By the way, you guys, Mark Yates has a YouTube channel. He's recently uploaded a couple of videos. You guys should check out his channel. I know he's just getting started with YouTube, but his videos are interesting, entertaining. Alan Rocco, I always edit Pac-Man mirrors. Yeah, we might do that. I say I'm going to follow the installation guide. We'll see. Anyway, back to the installation guide. So we've got internet. We need to update the system clock. And to update the system clock, it actually tells me what command to type. Time date ctl space set dash ntp space true. So I'm going to do that. Alright, to check the service status, I need to type time date ctl status. Alright, piece of cake. Yeah, and Alan Rocco in the chat mentions, yeah, if you don't edit the mirror list, you may have some pretty bad download times. Alright. Back to the installation guide. Again, a lot of this stuff is pretty straightforward. Again, this installation guide, I mean, if you scroll down like 2 times, you're at the end of the page. Even now, even just getting started, we're kind of like halfway down the page. Because a lot of it was the table of contents at the beginning, and then we could skip a couple of steps at the beginning because I didn't need to fool with key map. Alright, we need to partition our disks. Alright. So, the installation guide here recommends fdisk. I've always used like cfdisk. You know, now they recommend fdisk, but you know what? I may just go ahead and use cfdisk because I'm familiar with it. I don't really ever use fdisk. I don't really know how to use fdisk. Maybe I should check it out sometime. But why don't we just cfdisk? See if it's on here. Yep. Alright, we need to select label type. Since I'm not going to do UEFI, I don't need to do GPT, I need to do DOS. Alright, we need to create new partition size, 15 gigs. Yeah, that's fine. It needs to be primary, of course. /dev/SDA1. It needs to be bootable. It's already chosen the type as Linux. That is correct. Let's go ahead and write the partition table to the disk. And I quit that. And I hope I'm good on that. You guys notice I didn't create a swap partition because in this VM it would really be a lot of wasted space. I never like, creating swap partitions, especially in VMs. The only time I really do swap partitions in VMs if I let the installer on some of these graphical installers, if I let them just go ahead and do their automatic partitioning. Most of them do create a swap partition, but if I'm doing it myself, again, I'm not going to create like a 4 gig swap partition in a VM that I only gave 15 gigs of space to. Because that's 4 gigs of space. That swap is almost never going to be used, so it is completely wasted space. So, on physical hardware, you might want to create a swap partition. Although on physical hardware, there is an argument to be made. Do you really need swap? I'm not going to get into that this evening, though. Alright, so we're moving along here in the installation. Back to the chat. We got Q1 Fiend says, hey y'all. How's it going? Ritual. Lamer is here. Yeah, GPT needed if hard drive is over 2.2 terabytes, not just EFI, yeah? Lamer, you always use 1 gig for swap? Yeah, if I was going to create a swap, if I was going to do it in this VM, I might even go like 512 megabytes. Because again, it's you're hardly ever going to use that swap anyway. It's just wasted space. On physical hardware, yeah, I might create like a 4 gig swap because on physical hardware you have a ton of storage, hopefully. Alright, let's see, back to our installation guide. Okay, it recommended us, of course, partition the disk. To modify the partition tables, use fdisk or parted. I don't think I need to modify anything. Alright, we need to make a file system. So what they're recommending here is an extended 4 file system, which is usually what I do anyway. So the command for this is mkfs make file system dot extended 4 ext4 space, and then the location /dev, if I can type right, /dev /sda1. We do want to get this right too. Make sure that's /dev /sda1. Okay. Now if we created a swap, there would be more to do here. You see, we would need to do a make swap as well on /dev /sda3 or whatever you did the swap on. All right. Yeah, and Lamer mentions, yeah, on real hardware he uses swap, but in VirtualBox he doesn't bother, yeah. Ritual mentions he's attempting Gentoo tonight. Well, if you're attempting Gentoo, I mean, depending on where you're at, here in the US, it's kind of late. If you're attempting Gentoo tonight, you're not finishing it tonight, so. Mige, I'm trying Solus at the moment. Yeah, Solus is awesome. It's what's running on my laptop back here, Solus Budgie. Love it. I don't like it on my main machine because, again, I use a triple monitor setup, and the Budgie desktop environment is not great with multi-monitors. So, Ron Lee, I'm going to have to watch this a couple of times. Really, just read the Arch Linux wiki. If you rewatch this, have the Arch Linux installation guide up and just, read the wiki as I do it. You'll realize there's really not much to it. These commands I'm typing to are usually short. They're not, really complicated stuff here. Steve is enjoying Bunsen Labs right now. And Sven, do you still need a real swap? Does not a swap file be sufficient? Yeah, you could. I mean, you could do swap partition or swap file. Some distros are doing swap files by default now rather than a swap partition. So. Yeah, Ansem mentions the swap file is sufficient. It's the default in Ubuntu. Is it now? That's good. They moved to the swap file rather than the partition. All right, let's see. Moving on. So we created our file system. We need to mount the file system. To mount the file system, you need to type mount /dev /sda1 /mnt. So I'm going to do that. So mount space /dev /sda1 space /mnt. That should mount our file system. Alright, and then the Arch Wiki mentions create mount points for any remaining partitions. Well, we only created one partition, so this part here, I don't have to do anything. Yeah, so this would be like if I had created a boot partition. Yeah, so I don't need to do that. I can skip that. So actually doing just the one partition kind of saved me some of these steps here. All right, the mirror list. Was it Alan Rocco mentioned the mirror list? So the mirrors are defined in /etc /pacman.d /mirror list. On a live system, all mirrors are enabled, sorted by their synchronization status and speed. The higher the mirrors place, yada yada yada. The file later will be copied. Now we could go ahead and edit this. If I wanted to edit this, we could nano and then the location of that file /etc /pacman.d /mirror list. Alright, and this is the mirror list. And you see I could actually page down a million times here. It's a very long list of mirrors. And none of them are commented out. It is using every single mirror that Arch Linux has. Now, if I wanted to go through and edit this, I could. For example, I could Control-K to cut the entire line of text. I'm going to get rid of these servers that are in Germany, Denmark, Ecuador. Oh, US server. I'll keep that one. I'll move down to Thailand, get rid of that one. US again. I'll keep that one. Vietnam, I'll get rid of. I'll keep the next two that are US. Get rid of Germany and New Zealand. I'll keep US. Get rid of Brazil, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just going to go through and get rid of most of these, except for the ones that are in the US. I don't know, if I got 5 or 6 good mirrors, I'm probably good. Let's see, that's about 7 or 8 mirrors there. I could probably just go ahead and delete the rest of the list and just roll with these mirrors here, and that's what I'm going to do. Control K and Nano, and just a million times. Just hold it down. That is a very, very long mirror list. And when you have that many mirrors enabled from all around the world, all it takes is for when you're downloading something, you know, using Pac-Man or something, it connects to like the wrong mirror, the one that is really struggling, has really slow speeds, and then you're waiting forever for stuff to download and install. So always pick the ones close to you. Anyway, so in Nano, Control X to exit. Do we want to save? Of course we want to save. Y to save. File name to write. Just hit enter and it's going to rewrite the /etc/pacman.d/mirror list. Alright. And back to the installation guide. Alright, the next part is actually kind of the real installation. It is Pacstrap. Pacstrap is a script that installs the base Arch system. How does it do it? Well, you type pacstrap space /mnt for the mount point, you know, and then base. It is going to install the base system. You hit enter. If network is working, which we already pinged Arch Linux, we know we have internet. We've already edited our mirror list, so you know what? You guys missed me typing that command, but pacstrap /mnt base, and I hit enter, and Pac-Man threw up all this. Basically, it's gonna install a bunch of stuff. I actually didn't even catch how many packages are involved in the Pacstrap here, but this is the base install. And this may take a while. Because this is going to take a while, you guys actually don't even need to see the output here in the terminal. You guys have seen when you do, like in Debian or Ubuntu, sudo apt install update upgrade. In Pac-Man, you know, sudo pacman -syu. You know, it's just running through an install. That could take a while. So I'll try to catch up on some of the chat here. Ritual mentions he's about 2 hours deep into his Gen 2 install. He's compiling the kernel. Awesome. And Ritual mentions he doesn't think he's really expecting much other than failing his first attempt at it. I bet you get through it. A lot of people make these things harder than they are. Lamer. Yeah, DT, I stopped using Arch and switched to Mint-Dos. Tim F says EB got Cinnamon looking pretty close. Pretty close to Windows. Yeah, Cinnamon mimics Windows pretty well. And people talking about Eric. I'm assuming Eric Dubois. You guys want some really cool config files, check out Eric Dubois' GitHub page for Arco Linux and Arco Linux D. Steve mentions he was inspired to move to URXVT from Terminator after viewing my video. Yeah. But you haven't figured out how to get all of the Perl extensions on Debian yet. Doesn't seem to have a package for them like on Arch. That's the thing, because Arch is a rolling release, and it has things like the AUR, the community repos. You can find pretty much everything in Arch. It is a real difference going between distros like Debian Stable and something like Arch. Because Arch always has the absolute latest packages for everything. And then with the community repos, the AUR, you know, it's very rare that you have to like go compile a piece of software yourself. Where in Debian, you often have to do that because it won't be in the repos and you won't find a deb package anywhere for it. So now you're trying to build something from source. And that sucks. Ritual. Gonna jet for a bit while this is compiling and get a bit of physical activity in. Have a good night, everyone. Hey, take it easy, Ritual. Good luck on the Gentoo install. Keep us informed. Tux 13. Yeah, use rank mirrors to get the fastest. Yeah. That's another thing about the installation guide. They don't mention rank mirrors in the installation guide. I already mentioned a couple of things that I thought, you know, the installation guide should mention, like pinging. It doesn't tell you how to stop the ping, especially for a new user. Another thing it doesn't mention, let's see, what was I was thinking about it the other day. Like some of the bootloader stuff, I mean, it saves that till the very end of the installation guide, where you might want to be thinking about some of that stuff really at the start of the installation. But, you know, I'm nitpicking. The Arch installation guide is pretty good. That is why they're so adamant that you follow their installation guide to the letter. And if you show up in the Arch forums and tell them that you didn't follow the installation guide, you may or may not receive help. Alright. Ben Fitzpatrick, have you missed the install? Well, all we've done here, we've set up our partitions, played around with the mirror list a little bit, and then started Packstrap. So it's installing the base system. Let me go ahead and show you some of what's going on in the terminal. Actually, that's cool. I actually just switched screens and the Packstrap script has finished installing the base system. But before I continue, I do need to get caught up on some of the chat here, because I'm still not even close to getting to the end of some of the chat here. So I'm going to try to catch up before I continue the installation here. Alright. Let's see, Tim F. I've got 4 machines, all with 18.3 cinnamon, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to play with one of them per English Bob's workup. Okay. Mige, are you going to install a desktop environment? Probably not. Not this evening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the base install, because that's really where I go after the base install. It's not where you're going to go, because I'm probably going to install something like Qtile or Xmonad or OpenBox. A lot of you guys may want to go GNOME, KDE, XFCE. So what I'm going to do, once I have the base install done, I'm going to clone this VM. Clone it a few times. That way I've always got a base install of Arch done. You know, if I want to do, you know, Arch with LXQt or, I don't know, Budgie or whatever desktop environment I want to do down the road, I can always come back to the finished base install and start from there rather than starting from the beginning. If that makes sense. But installing a desktop environment is pretty straightforward. I may actually go over exactly what you would need to do to install a desktop environment, but I probably won't do it this evening. The stream is probably going to run a little long anyway. Not that the Arch installation is that long, but with me pausing and reading and conversing in the chat, this could be a couple hours just to get through the base. And Ben Fitzpatrick, I can have the Gentoo kernel done before 2 hours. Damn, 2 hours to get the kernel done? There's something wrong, dude. Not everybody has your machine, Ben. I'm assuming Ben runs some pretty good hardware, which is completely the opposite of what somebody like me does. I usually run garbage, you know. I run really subpar equipment. Old stuff. Cheap stuff. Alan Rocco is using the ST terminal. I've checked out the ST terminal before. It seems like it's okay. I haven't delved into it that much. I'm really liking URXVT since I switched to it, though. I really have no complaints with it, so I'll stick with it for now. Kevin Patel, did the stream just start? No, we've been at it for a little while. Gone through a little bit of the Arch install. We're not that far into it. Alright, so let me get back to the install. Alright, so for those that are just joining us, what we did, of course, I downloaded the ISO. We had to basically partition our disk using something like fdisk. Not very difficult. You create your partition. You mount the file system. Edit the mirror list. And then you run this command pacstrap/mount base. And it installs the base Arch system. It installs, I don't know, a couple hundred packages or whatever. And that is to the point where we're at now. And now we need to configure the system if we're continuing reading the Arch wiki. fstab, the file system tables. Generate a fstab file. And to do that, we have to type, okay, now this command is a little weird. So, the command is gen fstab, all one word, space, dash, capital U, space, /mnt, space, and then two greater than signs, two chevrons, space, /mnt/etc/fstab. Alright, and that should have created the fstab. Alright. And the next line of the Arch wiki, chroot. We need to change root into the new system. So to chroot, you need to type the command arch -chroot space /mnt. And now we just changed root. We are now inside that pacstrap command that installed the base system on /dev/sda1. We're inside that now. We're inside our actual installed Arch, or what will be the installed Arch. Alright, time zone. Set the time zone. That is the next part of the wiki here. Need to type this command here, which is ln. I'll let you guys follow along. ln-sf/user share zone info. Then user share zone info, and then region. Region is not really region, that is the actual region you're in. For me, it would be America. Then city, again, not actually the word city, but the city you're in. For me, I'm going to do Chicago because that's in the central time zone in the US. So America /Chicago space, and then /etc/local time. Kind of a long command, that one. Again, not all of these commands are as short and simple. The last two, the gen fstab and then the time zone setting, you know, a little longer commands. They're probably the longest commands we're going to have to type on this installation, actually. So nothing's going to be more difficult than those two commands I just typed. So if you pull those off, you're probably going to be able to complete the installation. Alright, so back to the chat for a second. Steven Anderson, Elementary is super fast on a laptop. Yeah, I like Elementary. Alan Rocco, I3, 2 exclamation points. Shaston Marshall, what's up, Derek? What's up, Shaston? Yeah, Tux1313, a snapshot of a rolling distro might be good for a few months. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone the base system, right? And you're right, it'll only be good for a few months, but I can always update the base system and then clone it again, where I've always got this base, you know, VM. Hopefully, if I don't lose it distro hopping like I did the last one I had. Let's see, Shaston, you may also want to install base-devel. Yep. Right, Alan. Otherwise, you will do a lot more work later. Mr. Go F yourself. Mr. F. What's up? What's up, fellas? Daniel DeBruno. Mars, can I get a link to your dot files? Whose dot files are you looking for, Mars? You're looking for mine, for like what I do with Qtile here on my Manjaro config. You can find my GitHub page. It is in the header of my YouTube channel. You'll see a link to my Diaspora account and my Mastodon account, my Patreon account, and my GitHub account. So go on my dot files repo, .config/Qtile, or .config/openbox for those of you who want my old openbox configs or whatever. And what is your opinion on Bunsen Labs Linux? Have you ever tried it? I have. It's a really nice distro. I wish it was a little more up to date. I mean, I know they just recently released Bunsen Labs based on Debian 9, so they were basing off of Debian 8 forever. That's a little bit too old and crusty for my taste, and I kind of like stable distros, but that's too old. All right. So we did the time zone. It suggests us to run HW clock to generate the /etc ADJ time. Not exactly sure what that's going to do, but we'll run it. It says run it. I'm going to run it. HW clock, all one word, space, dash, dash, sys TOHC. All right. Alright, back to the wiki. Locale, uncomment English US UTF-8 and other localizations needed in the /etc/locale.gen file. And generate them with locale-gen. So, basically, what we need to do is open a text editor like Nano or Vim. So I'll do nano space /etc/locale.gen. And here are the locales. They're all commented out. We need to uncomment at least one of them, maybe multiple ones. For me, what I need to uncomment is English US.UTF-8. That's all I'm gonna uncomment. Control X, yes to save. And now, well, you guys didn't see that. Let me run through that again because I actually didn't have that on the screen. Here's what I did. Nano space /etc/locale.gen. Hit enter and it will open this locale file. Every line is commented out. For those of you, especially those of you that want to do English US for a locale, find English US.UTF-8 and uncomment it, meaning delete the pound symbol that's in front of that line. Now you can uncomment other locales. You can have more than one, but you need to uncomment at least one line in this file. Control X, yes to save. Alright, now that you've edited that file, you need to run this command, locale-gen. And it's generating all our locales, which is just one, because I only uncommented the one line. Alright, so we're almost through the installation guide. We're very close to the bottom of the page, guys. Alright, so we did the locale-gen. If you set the keyboard layout, make the changes persistent in vConsole. I actually did not have to do anything with the key mapping. By default, it's already set to US keyboard, so I don't have to fool with that. Alright, hostname. We do need to create a hostname. So the hostname is found in /etc/hostname, my hostname. It actually tells us kind of how the file should look. Here is kind of a default /etc/host. Actually, we need to do /etc/hostname first. So nano /etc/hostname. Alright, it's a blank file. We just created an empty file. We need to actually type our host name. DT. That's my host name for this computer, for this VM. Control X. Yes to save. Alright. That's done. Now we need to do the same thing, basically. Nano /etc, except instead of host name, hosts /etc/hosts. This file is also empty. It's got a couple of comments here, but basically what you need to do is add this here to that empty file. I mean, that's basically a little template you can follow, but I'm just going to do it pretty much word for word here. 127.0.0.1. I'm going to space over a couple of times. Localhost. Alright. Alright. And then ::1 on the next line. Space over. Localhost. Alright. 127.0.1.1. And this needs to be my host name, DT, dot local domain dot, actually no dot, space over a few times, and then your host name again, DT. That's it. Control X. Yes to save. Hit enter. Alright, and that should have set up our host name. Alright, network configuration. Your newly installed environment has no network configuration activated by default. So we need to see network configuration, hashtag network management. Alright, so basically we need to see if internet is working. Actually, I can actually check if internet is working real quick. You guys remember the ping, right? Ping archlinux.org. We still have internet right now. So Control C to kill the ping. Now, when we're completely done with the installation, on reboot, we may not have internet. We may have to configure the network. I'll deal with that when it comes up. Back to the chat. Alright. Ben Fitzpatrick. Yeah, he's an XFCE user. He loves XFCE with LightDM. Yeah, LightDM is the best login manager. I don't see any reason to use another login manager, to be honest. Even if I install something like GNOME, I would want to use LightDM. Mr. Go F yourself. DT, I think it's great you do the advanced distro installs to show it's not that difficult. Yeah, and I try to even like the easy distro installs, like Ubuntu, SUSE, Elementary, that kind of stuff. Mint. I always show the installs on my videos because a lot of new Linux users or people that are curious about Linux, the more they see somebody go through it, they've seen me install Ubuntu enough times, they start thinking, you know what, I can get through that Ubuntu install. It's not that hard. That fellow on YouTube, he must have done it 100 times. It's not difficult. Same thing with the Arch install. It's a little bit more involved, but you guys see me do it enough. You'll probably attempt it even in a VM. Attempt it in a VM a couple of times. Once you've installed Arch in a VM, 3 or 4 times, you feel like you've got it. You know it. Put it on real machine. Put it on real hardware. See how it goes. Alright, McGay. CLI installer scares a little bit, but it's not that hard. Yeah, a lot of people don't like a command line install. Alright. Some more Bunsen Labs talk. Steve, you're enjoying Bunsen Labs. Yeah, it's Debian stable. Yeah, it's Debian very stable. Because they're just now, basing off of Debian 9, which has been out almost a year now. Steve, you were configuring URXVT on Bunsen Labs today. Huh, very cool. Alright, so back to the wiki. Now we're getting close. Getting close to the end here. So this is actually the installation guide page, and you guys can see actually we're at the bottom of the page. There's nothing left. Network configuration, I mentioned we'd skip it for now. It's working in this chroot that we've got here, so we'll skip network configuration. I'll come back to it if we don't have internet after we're done with the installation. Init RAM FS. Creating a new init RAM FS is usually not required. It's usually not required. We're skipping this section. This is another thing we don't need to do. So, root password. That's pretty much the next to last thing here. Root password. You do need to set a root password. So, PASSWD password. It's going to ask. Let me make sure I get back to the screen. So I just typed PASSWD, and it's asking me new password. I'm going to give it a new root password. It's going to retype. It's going to ask me to retype the new password for confirmation. Retype it. Hit enter. Password updated successfully. I just created the root password. So that is our system administrator password. The last thing is the bootloader. A Linux capable bootloader must be installed to boot Arch Linux. And then it tells us to go to the Arch wiki page for bootloaders, and there's a few bootloaders we could install, but you know what? You know the one we're going to install is going to be Grub. So I'm going to go to the Grub Arch wiki page here. I'm going to scroll down. I'm actually going to go all the way down to, where is the installation? Installation. Install the Grub package. It will replace Grub Legacy. Yeah, we're not going to do any of that, but Grub install. Actually, I think we just need to sudo, well, actually, we're still root. pacman-s grub. Okay. Actually, you guys missed that, but let me clear the screen. What you guys didn't see me do there, pacman-s, capital S, grub, to install grub. I already installed it. No big deal. So, alright, back to the chat for a second. Rouse Leroy is in the chat. I just did an Arch install yesterday. Very cool. Dude, I just installed the network manager thingy. Hector. Hello, DT. What's going on, Hector? You going to put Arch Linux on real hardware again? Yeah, at some point. I don't know if I'll put it on my main machine right now. I don't want to hop anymore on my main machine, at least not as much as I was doing. I was changing every week. Right now I've got Manjaro running. Everything's configured the way I want and it's working. Why wipe it? Why wipe Manjaro off if it's working the way I want it? So I was doing a little bit too much hopping. I don't mind hopping, but I need to quit it on the main production machine because it actually cost me a lot of time, a lot of lost time on the channel. Hours that I could have been making videos. Instead I was doing, you know, backing up and restoring and all of that. So yeah, Tux1313, he likes Fluxbox and OpenBox as well. Yep, two of my favorites. Rouse, yeah, likes i3, Babbler, i3, Xmonad are too daunting for me. Sometimes Plasma 5. Okay, so is Plasma 5 too daunting for you, or I'm not sure exactly, but apparently i3 and Xmonad, yeah, they can be. Having to write a config file for those tiling window managers can be a bit of a challenge. Alright, anyway, where was I here? Alright, we installed grub. It says install the grub package, then do grub-install. Okay. I'm going to let you guys watch me type this. Grub-install space -- target equals i386 dash PC, and then /dev/SDA. I had to think about what I was doing here. Wasn't sure if it needed to be /dev/SDA or /dev/SDA1. It does not need to be SDA1. It needs to be /dev/SDA. So, anyway, hit enter. And that should install Grub for us. Alright. Now I have done these Grub installs enough, especially on the Arch install, to know that I usually forget a step here. And I'm trying to think of the one I always forget. The grub make config. Alright, so if you go down to generate the main configuration file on the grub Arch Wiki page, you do need to run this command here. You need to make this grub config file, or when we reboot our machine here in a couple of minutes, grub's not going to work. So grub-mkconfig make config space dash o space, and then the path /boot/grub/grub.cfg grub.config, and it generates our grub configuration file. And again, I forgot to switch screens so you guys could see that. I'll do it again. So the command is grub-mkconfig space -o space /boot/grub/grub.config. You hit enter. I wouldn't need to hit enter because I've already generated it, but I'll generate it again just to get this on video here. It's hard to switch screens between the wiki, because you guys need to see the wiki too, and then switch screens to the VM. Alright, and I think that might be it. If I go back to the main installation guide, the bootloader was the last thing. The only thing that we skipped that we might have to play around with is the network. But that's it. We just completed the installation. I could reboot this VM right now. So you guys, I don't know, what time is it? It is about 11 o'clock. 1 hour. 1 hour went start to finish, the installation guide. Maybe I've got to do one other thing when I reboot the machine. We might have to play with the network a bit. And that was me. How much time did I take chatting with you guys, reading the chat? The Arch install's not that bad. So, alright, catch up on the chat before I reboot the machine and we actually see if this works. Because it may not work. I mean, I may have messed something up. It wouldn't be the first time. Let's see. Rouse, yeah, DistroTube. Tell me about distro hopping. This weekend I installed Fedora, Sabian, then back to Fedora. Finally just went with Arch. Spent 16 hours on that when I should have, yeah. Yeah, I installed 10 different distros on my main production machine in 2 months recently. And that's way too much hopping. On my main production machine, which is what I use to do these streams and record all my videos, I can't be doing that. Because that was causing me some real problems. Babbler, Xmonad is hard because of Haskell, yeah. i3 is pretty easy given its relative power. Yeah. I haven't tried i3, so I can't say that i3 is necessarily easy to configure. I'm sure it's easier to configure than Xmonad. Xmonad is a beast to configure. You want tiling window managers that are easy to configure? Qtile, written in Python. Awesome is written in Lua. It's not that bad. Alright. Is MUSL worth the hype, or should I just stick with glibc? I really have no opinion on the matter. I'm sure others may want to weigh in. I'm fine with either, though, to be honest. Bad Wolf, I just reinstalled my Arch today. Fun times. Ben Fitzpatrick. I tried i3 and other window managers. It was too difficult no matter what config. Alright. Does DHCP auto start? So we're doing the network here. We'll see. I'm about to reboot the machine. DWM is pretty nice, says Riles. I may take a look at DWM at some point. Very old tiling window manager, but still in development, and a lot of people use it. A lot of people love it. I've had several viewers on the channel ask me to take a look at it. So, anyway, the installation guide. We're at the end of it. At the bottom, reboot. You exit the root by typing exit. Okay. Now we're out of our root. We're back in the main prompt here. And then type reboot. I mean, that's it. The installation is complete. Let's reboot and see what happens. You guys watching? Actually, nothing's going to happen yet because I still have the ISO attached. So, let me kill this VM. What I just did was the same as completing an installation with a live USB stick in, and then rebooting and forgetting to take the USB stick out. That's what I need to do right now. I need to take this ISO and detach it, get rid of it. Now I need to open my VM, and if the install worked correctly, something should load up here. Grub. It's a miracle. Grub works. If there was one thing that you're probably going to screw up, it's the grub install. Grub works. We have a login. That's it. That is the Arch install right there. Now what we do from here, you log in and you start installing everything you want to install. Go ahead and install your login manager, your window manager or desktop environment, all your graphical programs. Where you go from here is everybody's different. Basically, an Arch install, you install every single package on your system that's not part of that packstrap base install. So everybody's install is different. Where I go with this is not going to be where the next guy goes with it, etc., etc. We're all going to create our own unique Arch Linux at this point. To do anything, though, of course, you log in. I created the user DT. Or did I? No, I didn't. We haven't created a user yet. The only user is the root user still. So actually, I just need to root the root password. Okay. So we still only have one user on the system, the root user. I've had this beer sitting here for the entire hour and I haven't taken a drink the whole hour. I forgot I had it. It's getting kind of warm, but it's actually not a bad beer. Not the kind of thing I normally drink, but I was in the mood for something a little lighter. It's a very hot day here in Louisiana today. It's very warm. And this is Bud Light Lime. Actually not bad. Kind of reminds me, you know, when you add a little lime to something like a Corona. That kind of taste, you know. It's a little bit of lime, kind of subtle, but not bad. Alright. Got more XFCE talk in the chat. I guess Ben is talking about his XFCE installs. Hillbilly Tech. Plasma freshly installed around 550 megs. Mars. Plasma over GNOME. But would still always use a tiling window manager instead of both of them? Okay, I'm with you on that. Bryant Stafford. I stick to Budgie or KDE. Window managers are too far from me even when I install Arch the Arch way. Well, you use what works. What works for you. What you're comfortable with. I mean, on my laptop back here that I have Solus Budgie running on, I had Ubuntu Unity on my laptop for a long time. Why? Because I really liked it on the laptop. Unity, the desktop environment, was really nice on the small screen. So, even though I was, you know, running something like Xmonad on my desktop, you know, I'm running Ubuntu Unity on the laptop. Why? Because it works. I just like things that work. If I install anything, you know, and it doesn't break on me, I just keep it. So, Comrade Curio is in the chat. He says, howdy DT. Howdy. Keegan says, good evening. How are you guys? You guys are actually here at the end of the installation. I completed the Arch install, rebooted the machine, Grub works. We were able to log in as root. We haven't created a home user yet. Tim F. Bud Light has a new orange flavor. Interested to try it? Yeah, that might be cool too. Yeah, Bryant says Unity was nice on the old laptop. Yes. Comrade Curio, Qtile! Exclamation point. Indeed, several exclamation points. I need to check out 2BWM. I might. Got so many window managers people want me to check out because of doing the obscure window manager project. I really thought doing those 12 I would have pretty much everybody covered, but no, I get people asking about everything. BSPWM, DWM, got one guy bugging me about rat poison, 2BWM. Alright. Iron Man, already 16 years with Linux. Oh, awesome. Long-time Linux user. So you remember when Linux wasn't nearly as good as it is now. We've come a long way, really, in a short amount of time, really. Babbler, is there a community fork of Unity, or is it truly dead? There is Unity 8's going to continue that development. Somebody's taken that up. Unity 7... I don't know yet. Maybe somebody else has something on that. You can still install Unity 7, though, on Ubuntu. Even Ubuntu 18.04, which is supported for 5 years. So, if you really love Unity, you can stick with it for now. No reason to change just yet. Alright, so that's the Arch installation guide. Actually, I don't think I need that anymore. Well, we may actually need the Arch wiki, but we won't need the installation page because there may still be some things we need to do here. Alright, so we logged in. We logged in as root because root is the only user. Alright, do we want to create a new user? Wondering exactly how far I want to go with this. Should I create a home user? And if I create a home user, do I go ahead and install Xorg and LightDM? We've already been running about an hour and 10 minutes. I may just read the chat a little bit. I'm pretty happy getting the base install done. You know what? One thing we should check, though. One thing we absolutely need to check before we call it a night. Ping archlinux.org. Do we have network? No. We are going to fix this. This is one thing I want this done because I don't want to clone this VM, you know, and have network not working on all the clones. I want to have this fixed. I want to have this squared away. So network, I think I already had the Arch wiki because I said we would probably have to come back to this. Network management. Anyways, it gets involved. Some of this is kind of deep, but really all we need to do, I think, I've done this a few times in the past, is DHCP CD. Yeah, it's a 6-letter command, and I believe it's DHP CD. And now, ping Arch Linux still doesn't work. Did I not type that right? DHCPCD. Okay. Yeah, I didn't type it right. DHCPCD. And now ping Arch Linux works. So we have network. So now we have internet. And of course we gotta have internet, because without internet I can't install Xorg, the X server, to get a graphical environment. I can't install LightDM, whatever window manager I want to install. So now we're pretty much at the end of a base installation. Yeah, and several people saw me struggling to try to figure out. I knew it was a 6-letter command. I knew it had a lot of DHCPs in it. And several of you were trying to help me out with it. It's not a command you have to type very often either. The only time I've ever had to type the DHCPCD command, it's basically in these Arch installs. So if you don't do a lot of Arch installs, it's sometimes months in between them. It's like, oh, what is that command? Yeah, Ector. Yeah, I don't have to install Xorg to have a user. Yeah, that's right. I could go ahead and create a home user if I wanted to. I don't have to create a graphical environment of any kind for that home user. Yeah, Ron Lee, you gotta go. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna do too much here, at least not with this. I'm just happy I got through the base install. So at this point, what I would do is all I really got to do now is create the home user, install Xorg, and whatever programs I want to use on the system. Say Qtile. I'll install the Qtile tiling window manager. I go to my GitHub page. I pull down my configs that I've already got written, so I don't even have to do that stuff. So we could have a proper desktop environment set up pretty quickly. For those of you that are not doing like tiling window managers or these minimal window managers like OpenBox, you're not pulling down your own configs that you've written, you're doing big desktop environments, sudo pacman-s, GNOME or KDE or whatever the desktop is that you choose to install. Alright, so the McBird, just install OpenBox. I might. Again, I'm going to clone this VM, so I can have a Arch with OpenBox, I can have an Arch with Qtile, I can have an Arch with Xmonad, or Arch with i3, an Arch with GNOME, if I wanted to. So that's the thing, once I get it to this point where I got the base install done, I just clone it, and then I can make Arch into whatever I want. Daniel DeBruno needs system CTL enabled DHCP. Yep. So we need to make sure it auto starts. Thanks for reminding me there, Daniel. So this is a systemd command, systemctl. Enable DH. Oh, I gotta think what it is. You guys in the chat were trying to help me. DHCP. It's been a long day. It's DHCP CD. Okay. All right. So we enabled DHCP with systemd. And I'm glad I did that, because if I had cloned the VM before I had done that, network still wouldn't have been working on the clones. So that should have got that taken care of. That really might be the end of the base install. Maybe. You guys in the chat will let me know if I messed anything else up. Daniel, don't use systemd anymore? I'm not sure who you're referring to, or I know Arch uses systemd, so. Yeah, Shasta, is it as hot as it is in Houma? You're in Houma, Louisiana. Very cool. Yeah, it was warm today. You can get a full base install with everything you need just in the command line, then clone it as much as you want. Yeah, that's exactly what I plan on doing. Yeah. Once I get it to this point, I can clone it 100 different times, and then install 100 different window managers and desktop environments if I want, on each different clone. So Joe Panico, just dropping in to say a quick hello. Can't stay, I am in a live hangout. Glad you stopped by, Joe. Yeah, Arch, just shoot me now. Yeah, Joe really loves Ubuntu Monte, which I like Ubuntu Monte, although I will say Ubuntu Monte 1804 did have some bugginess to it. It wasn't as polished. Actually, I thought 1710 was a little bit better of a distro. Again, I didn't live in either one of them, though. Babbler, good night, take care. Yeah, I'm actually going to kill the stream here in a few minutes. I'll probably go till another 14 minutes or so. We'll make it a good round number, an hour and a half for the stream. Iron Man, DT, the best Linux YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see, you mentioned rat poison earlier. Oh, no. Here we go. Rat poison is a pain to install and configure on Arch. Not to mention rat poison is now a dead project. Yeah. When I started using Linux about 10 years ago, I quickly gravitated to things like OpenBox and Xmonad. And even 10 years ago, rat poison was kind of a dead project. You occasionally heard of somebody using rat poison, but it was a really just very few people knew what rat poison was back then. Nowadays, I mean, until I started this channel and I had basically one user ask me about rat poison. He asked me about it a lot, unfortunately, so I may have to take a look at it. But I hadn't heard of rat poison in years. But I do have one guy. He says he uses it and he loves it and he would like me to review it on the channel. So I'll probably do it at some point. And the McBird. Maybe OpenRC. Yeah, a few other init systems other than systemd. You could do OpenRC. There are some Arch-based distros that use OpenRC rather than systemd. Alright. H149. I don't know what to use. Kubuntu or KDE Neon. If you want stable, Kubuntu. The Kubuntu 1804 release is a LTS release. Should be stable, rock solid. KDE Neon, you're going to have all the Plasma stuff, updating all the time. So it's not going to stay on like the current version of Plasma, Yeah, Alan mentions Neon is lighter. Yeah, they don't install much on KDE Neon. It's just Plasma and all the KDE apps. They don't install a bunch of extra stuff to it. And Bad Wolf says OpenBox has always been his go-to, with Mate, XFCE, and GNOME as backups. Yeah. What I usually do is I install 2 window managers on every system. I never like having just one. So usually in the past what I would always do is install OpenBox. You guys know I love OpenBox. I always had OpenBox on every machine. And then install something other than OpenBox in case I ever had a problem with OpenBox. It broke on me. I had something else to log into. So I'd have like OpenBox and Xmonad both on the machine. Or what I'm doing now, I was doing the tiling window manager challenge for 30 days. So in this case, I had 2 tiling window managers here installed on Manjaro. Actually 3. I had i3, Qtile, and Xmonad. So if I'm playing around with my Xmonad config and I break Xmonad and I can't log into it, I can log into Qtile and fix my Xmonad config. So instead of having to drop down into a shell and fix it there. Which you can do. But it's so much nicer to actually pull up a real terminal instead of the shell. Alright. So I'm very happy that we got through the base install. That actually went really well. I'm actually surprised I didn't screw up anything along the way. You guys know I don't do any kind of prep work for these live streams. Surprised we didn't have any kind of crashing. The stream actually looks like it's going well. You guys that were around for some of my live streams when I was doing all that distro hopping about a month ago, boy, I had some live streams that were just crazy. Had one live stream where my computer froze on me about 5 minutes into the stream to the point where I couldn't do anything. The mouse didn't work, the keyboard didn't work. All you saw was me talking and me reading the chat because nothing on my keyboard would work. To kill the stream, I had to power off the machine. Had another stream where I couldn't figure out why OBS wasn't working correctly, so I started killing processes, and somewhere along the way I decided to kill Pulse Audio. Pro tip, don't kill Pulse Audio while you're streaming. Nobody can hear what you're saying after you kill Pulse Audio. Yeah, Keegan's mentions Antics. Yeah, Antics was the stream that froze on me because I did a 1200 package update and then tried to live stream right after that. Bad idea. And Mr. Go F Yourself, I remember those streams. Lulz. Alright. And we'll give it a few more minutes here. Now, I said I would actually go over, you know, where you would go from here. I don't want to really do much more because I'm going to clone this VM. And this is kind of the point where I want to clone it. But, okay, you have a root user now. I'll show you the commands. I'm not going to actually enter them. To create a user, is it user mod? User mod dash a, lowercase a, capital G. Then you need to specify some groups. So will, no spaces though, will, comma, video, comma, audio, comma, whatever. All your groups, more groups. Space, and then your username. Whatever username you want to give. So if I wanted to create a user, Derek, my name. Hit enter, we will create a user called Derek. He belongs to all those groups, will, video, audio, whatever. That's in the Arch Wiki. There's an Arch Wiki page for users and groups, how to create users and groups. Then that's it. If you want to exit out of the root user and log back in as your home user, in my case as Derek, I would log in Derek and then the password for Derek. Actually, we would have to create a password for Derek. We would have created the user Derek, but we didn't give him a password. So to create his password, dang, what is the is it password again? You log in as Derek and then do PASSWD. Guys, help me out. You guys in the chat. Yeah. I could pull up the Arch Wiki page, but I'm going to try to finish my warm Bud Light Lime. Anyway, you create a user. Yeah. Right. Oh, password and then the username. That's right. So just logging in as the user and doing passwd doesn't work. You actually have to passwd and then the username. That's right. Okay. And for folks that are not following along in the chat, I will actually type that. So what we'll do, PASSWD, and then username. In my case, I just created the user Derek. Derek, you hit enter. It's going to ask you for your new password. You type your new password. Then it'll ask you to retype that password for confirmation. You type it a second time and hit enter. Boom. You just created your user. You know, you set him up in various groups that he belongs to. You gave him a password. And that's it. After that, let me clear the screen here. After that, you would start installing stuff. If you're root, pacman-s. If you're not root, if you logged in as your home user, in my case Derek, you would sudo pacman-S, and then xorg. You gotta have xorg. That's the X server. If you're gonna have a GUI, you gotta have that. Other packages you'd want, lightdm for a login manager, maybe. For me, I would install, I don't know, xmonad. Xmonad also has another package called xmonad-contrib. I need that for all the extra goodies that come along with xmonad. I would need like the bar, the taskbar in xmonad I usually use is called xmobar. programs I use, I need a terminal of some kind. I could install, I don't know, Xterm or URXVT or Termite, any of that. File manager, you can do a graphical one like PCMan, FM. Or terminal-based ones such as Ranger, whatever. You get the idea. You just pacman-s and then a list of everything you want to install. And then, if I go back to the chat here, because one of the guys in the chat mentioned something. Yeah, show system CTL enable LightDM to start it at login. Arch is pretty good with LightDM. Usually, I've found pretty good luck with LightDM. It's not very complicated. Sometimes on some distros you kind of fight with it a little bit, but yeah, you install LightDM, then tell systemd to enable it. So system CTL enable LightDM. That's it. Reboot your machine, and no more do you get the command prompt on boot up. You go straight to the login manager, the LightDM login manager. And if you have a desktop environment or a window manager installed already, you choose it, you log in with whatever username you created. Boom. Again, there's an Arch wiki page for LightDM. You might want to read that if you've never installed LightDM before. But it's actually pretty, I've found that on Arch at least, the LightDM installation and setup is pretty straightforward. Usually you install it, you enable it, you reboot the machine, and it just works. On some distros, they require you to play around in the config files a little bit. You know, I may actually go through some of this maybe at a future date, because I'm going to clone this base install. When I decide to actually install some desktop environments or window managers on these base installs that I've got, yeah, I may go through some of this, maybe on a live stream or something down the road. We'll actually install Xorg and LightDM, maybe install something like GNOME or whatever, just for fun on a stream. Alright, Lamer, he's going to reboot his computer. Take care, all. Yep, we're actually about to leave here too, Lamer. Glad you stopped by. I'm going to kill the stream maybe in another 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to shut it down. Bad Wolf, XMobar is a bit wonky for me, which actually ran me off of XMoNet after 6 months. I'm not sure. XMobar is a very simple program. There's really nothing to it. Not exactly sure. Or you might have had a problem configuring it, maybe. What were your issues with it before I kill the stream here? Just in case it happens to be something I've encountered in the past, maybe I could help you out with. Alright, Mr. Go F yourself. Much respect. Take care, y'all. See you, Mr. Elf. Glad you stopped by. Alan Rocco, yeah, just start X, yeah. Of course, I can't start X because I didn't actually install Xorg, but yeah. Tim F, mainstream Arch isn't for me, but a great stream nonetheless. Thanks, DT. Thank you, Tim. Good to see you. Yeah, Bad Wolf mentioned you had some configuration issues with XMobar. It kept disappearing, and at times it would take up to a minute to show. That's very weird. Yeah, that's strange. Carl, he says, I'm very late. Sorry, brother. Yeah, you are kind of late, Carl. I was actually about to click the stop streaming button, but I'm glad you stopped by. Was an interesting evening here. I installed Arch Linux. This is actually my completed Arch Linux install. We've completed the base Arch Linux install. We rebooted the machine. You log in. Logged in as root. That's it. We got the blinking cursor. We're at a prompt. That is Arch. That's the Arch wiki still here. Arch installation guide. I'm about to kill it in just another couple of seconds here. All right. Carl says it's beautiful. All right, well, I want to thank everybody that stopped by this evening. All you guys that are still in the chat, all you guys that hung out with me earlier in the chat. I had a few people in and out tonight. All the guys still here, Alan, Bad Wolf, Daniel, Carl that just showed up very late, Mr. F, Tech Rage, and Lamer, Tim, Tux, Unbiased. Thank you guys for hanging out with me while I went through this Arch install. Again, I was going to install Arch anyway. I just figured why not hit the start streaming button and put it on video. I thought some of you guys might find this interesting, especially if you've never been through an Arch install. It's not that bad. I mean, this was really a piece of cake. A lot of people make the Arch install to be more than it really is. It's not hard at all. You guys that want to, just do exactly what I did on this video. Do it in a VM, do it 2 or 3 times, and then go install it on physical hardware. Anyway, so everybody's saying bye. Take care. It's morning for you, McBird. Well, I'm glad you joined us. It is 11:30 here in the Central Time Zone, 11:30 p.m. here in the Central Time Zone in the U.S., so I've got to get to bed. Before I go, got to give a special thanks to my patrons. A.K. Ron, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Brian, Carl, Greg, Carlos, Rob, Matt, Darkwin, Mark, Christian, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen, Marcus, Interceptor, Bob, Leor, Omar, and Silvio. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.